So I'm here to give you a tutorial on capturing animals in a farm or zoo environment, which I often do, and then composite them into a scene. So a lot of the time when I'm creating an image, I might have a particular look in mind for my animals, but other times I will go out and I will shoot animals on location so that I can capture them in lots of different formats and then put them into my stock library and then have them for a later use. So here we're at Myuna Farm, and this is one of my favourite local places to come. There's a lot of different animals here, Australian wildlife and so forth, and I can come here, I can walk around, I can capture the animals in a wild environment even though they're in a fenced area. So a few of the things that you need to keep in mind when you're shooting animals. One of them is with your camera settings. So when I'm shooting, for example, the kangaroos, I need to make sure that the kangaroo that I'm shooting is all in focus. So my aperture needs to be a little narrower than what I normally shoot at. So maybe f5 would generally work. I've got a long lens on at the moment. That's the other thing too, to be able to get in close and fill the frame with the animal, a long lens is really, really helpful. So in this situation, I'm capturing some kangaroos here that I might later actually composite into a shot. So I will zoom up on the one particular kangaroo that I want, that's looking at me, that's looking the right way, and I will photograph him with the settings at the moment that I'm using. I'm on 3/20th of a second, fast enough that if the kangaroo moves a little bit, that's not going to be a problem. I'm on f4, which I'm finding for this shot, for the kangaroo, it works. The whole kangaroo is in focus. If it was something like an elephant, a longer animal from front to back, I would change the aperture to account for that so that I'm getting the front of the animal and the back of the animal in focus. So what I will then do is take those images back and put them in a little gallery of different types of animals, and then I can come back to them later. The other thing that is really quite helpful, not essential because you can work around it, but helpful, is the light. So most of the time I like to photograph the elements in my shots at the right time of day so that I'm getting the light in the right direction. But for this circumstance again, I'm not sure what I'm going to use this shot for. So the best option is to photograph the animal when the sun is under a cloud, you've got soft light, it's non-directional, there's no particular shadow being cast, there's no particular highlights and shadows on the animal. And then later you can come into Photoshop and add the light and shade as you need to match the scene. So ideally, if you're going out to shoot, choose an overcast day. Go out and shoot all the animals that you can, and then you can use them at a later time. One other thing I wanted to tell you about with shooting animals, particularly at the zoo. I've found in this circumstance, it's easy, you can stick the lens through the hole there and you're not going to have any problems. But at the zoo, quite often the fences and things you can't work around, they might be like this, a little bit smaller. So what you can do is you can actually put your lens up against here, and it is helpful to have a lens hood on there so you're not damaging your lens. But if you actually put that camera up nice and close to the fence, and then you actually focus on the animal that is quite a distance away from you, the fence will actually disappear because of the depth of field, because this part is not in focus. So there will be maybe a little bit of haze, and you can actually later rectify that, which I can show you in Photoshop, but really it will be hardly noticeable. So don't let a fence stop you from getting the shot that you want, that you can later add into your image. So lots of things you can do with animals, of course. So really good to build up a catalogue of images and just go crazy. Just have a lot of fun. Take your camera, take your long lens and go for it.